Hey there, it's the Slya. Today I am showing you how I completed Heroic 7 Tier 4 of the Tasteless Taste of Evil solo raid in Injustice 2 Mobile. The only reason I like this raid is the chance to obtain the Moon Blade artifact, which overcomes any form of healing disable, and the free Twin Blades artifact, which is useful as in both Invasions and Arena. I have split this video into chapters by fight, which should be visible in the YouTube video panel and are also listed in the video description below so that you can navigate to the fight you want to see first. We have started off with an interesting fight against boss AKBM, who not only stuns your characters more often, but does more damage to stun characters and has increased power generation. Interestingly, I managed to beat him with my League of Anarchy team without using raid-specific artifacts, thanks to Gemstone. But the challenge here was I did not have Ascended Silver Batman as the third character, as I used him elsewhere, so I had AKBM myself, which meant I couldn't power drain this guy, and with his extra power gen he could do more damage. So I could have stuck with God Killer on EPI as usual, with HBHU with DMC being my damage dealer. But this time, for something new, I used the Power Stealing Sword of Salvation artifact on EPI to counter AKBM's increased power gen. But thanks to not being able to power drain him consistently, the boss did end up doing his super, and my HBHU was very lucky to tank it. Against most bosses, EPI and HBHU would not have tanked the super, but here, since I did not have a raid-specific artifact and relied on Gemstone from the third character dying from the boss super would also not be optimal. Ideally, against this boss you would put a raid artifact on whichever one of EPI and HBHU is not your damage dealer, and then use Zatanna with Puppet as the third character, because hopefully Zatanna builds up the 300% damage buff before tanking the super if needed. Or we could have used EPI with Social or GK as we have here, and used Ascended Silver Batman with Gemstone, as he would also have Power Steal from his tech passive once the combo lock with HBHU DMC is initiated. Anyway, I'm glad I managed to pull this off without sufficient power stealing, and without a raid-specific artifact. Finally, needless to say, you could use Raven here, but that would be OP, and the advantage of using Loa here was that thanks to Harley's passive we resisted all of his stuns and even deflected one back to him. This was an interesting fight against boss Nightwing, who has increased defense, does splash damage, and cannot be stunned and frozen. Man, he did have increased defense indeed, as despite near perfect gameplay it took my OP Batman Ninja Batman team nearly 2 minutes and 30 seconds to finish this joker off. But good fight. At one stage I even had a glitch wherein my game minimized and took me back to my damn screen as an input froze. Luckily the game didn't crash and just paused itself and I could resume the pip, otherwise I would be real pissed. This is the only fight where I have just included the cleanup, and not the full one-shot. This should have been another easy Manta one-shot pit, but either the AI cheated or there was some device bug wherein my Manta combos and input taps for them were not registering as well as usual. WTF. I hate messing up a sure-shot Manta one-shot which I have nailed so many times. Which also shows why Manta is a high-investment pit, because despite all the buffs, even one or two mess-ups and you miss the one-shot compared to teams like Freeze, Raven, Raiden, Batman Ninja, Beast Boy wherein you can recover from F-ups. BWTD is the only other team where you need to get it right from the start. Anyway, I cleaned up this BTCH using flawed justice as shown here.
Beg for mercy while I warm up. You don't want to get in my way. Even eagerly can finish you. For peace! You can beg for mercy while I warm up. Nothing like a bloodbath to start the day. You can't stop me from bringing peace. You don't want to get in my way. You can't stop me from bringing peace. Nothing like a bloodbath to start the day. You don't want to get in my way. Even eagerly can finish you. You can't stop me from bringing peace.
This was the fight against Boss Swamp Thing, who disables Special 1, and has higher damage based on the number of power bars he has. It should be a straightforward job for Freeze with either Beta or ZP. Normally with Beta you just need Vixen and a power cost reducer, and don't need any percentage damage dealer to support Freeze. You need a percentage damage dealer like Deathstroke here or Rock BA to support Freeze when Freeze is using the free-to-play puppet artifact. However, here as an experiment I had raid-specific artifacts on both Vixen and Deathstroke and did Deathstroke's percentage damage first, which also builds stacks. But despite all that, used Beta on Freeze, which was a pretty OP setup. So once Freeze's Beta was activated, the match finished pretty quickly. Deathstroke does take time to do his percentage damage, but he generates power on critical attacks, and the Moonblade here allows his attacks to be uninterrupted, so if you combo well and do it right you can finish Deathstroke's percentage health damage in 50 seconds and tag and Freeze with 30 stacks built at the 2 minutes 10 seconds or maximum 2 minutes mark, which is critical if he was using the free-to-play puppet artifact. Then after activating puppet you can also do his super and finish the match with around 30 to 40 seconds left. Here, because we had Beta, we did not need super and finished the match with 1 minute left. Imagine if I had used Rockba with his percentage damage done instantly instead of Deathstroke and Freeze Beta as used here, the match would have been over in 1 minute. But with Beta on Freeze both Deathstroke and Rockba are unnecessary. But anyway, given that Manta did not build up enough damage to one-shot classic Wonder Woman, and this fight was after that, I overbuffed it just in case this dumb schmuck raid had any added defense on bosses or something. This was the final fight against Heroic 7 Tier 4 boss Zatanna. She has an interesting buff wherein she periodically tags in a random opponent, and inflicts a damage over time buff after each tangent to the whole team. You have to manage the tag-ins very carefully and try and tag out before she tags you out. As seen here, my Raiden took a lot of damage and nearly died. But I have finished this team easily with Raven and Raiden before, so I used Raven Puppet, Raiden Beta and Dr. Fate for power cost reduction, and wearing the raid-specific artifact. I had done this before with this team, so I knew I could do it. But honestly, if I did not have Beta on Raiden and had Twin Blades, it would have been very, very close and may have ended up missing the one shot. Without Beta, you have to look at ways of finishing her before she builds up 4 DOT stacks. One option could be to try Vixen Raid Artifact, Rockba or Deathstroke, or Zatanna with Raid Artifact and Freeze with Puppet, so after the percentage damage is done and Freeze's buffs are built and his Puppet is active, even if the dot from Zatanna's passive reduces him to 1 health point. The blind and damage reduction from Puppet should keep him alive, and you may be interrupted by the periodic tagouts, but should have just about enough time to kill her with Puppet, particularly if you got buffed by your own Zatanna or did quite a bit of percentage damage with Rockba or Deathstroke. So that explains how you would play the Pip without Beta, which is the opposite of what we did here and is something I will attempt in my next run of H7 in the coming days. Anyway, if you don't have Beta and still want to play Raven Raiden, then you will definitely need good combo interruption and God Killer on Raven. Rubbish rewards.